Hello.
Hello.
My name's Dhemerae.
And I'm Sarah.
And together we're the TheLaserGirls.
That we are.
Welcome to the second series of our post-Comic-Con cosplay wrap-up for 2017. This video is going to be more about a breakdown of the costumes.
How we made each individual thing.
Yes.
Creative decisions we had to make. Technical decisions we have to make. Mm-hmm. Decisions, not scissions.
Scissions. You know them scissions.
It's one of those days. So we did New York Comic Con 2017. This is our third time doing this con at the Javits Center. I did an interpretation of Luna Freya from Final Fantasy 15, and Dhemerae did San from Princess Mononoke.
Yes.
Which is not a new costume for her.
No.
So why don't we jump in with that?
Sure.
So you originally had plans to do a different costume and then decided to change those plans.
My original costume, this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. My original costume, I was going to do Jane Foster's Thor. And I started making it. I built the 3D model for the hammer. I printed all the hammer parts out. The hammer took me, because of how I wanted to design the hammer, I wanted to do a flat pack design so that basically you can take the hammer apart and it would just pack flatly. But I found out that while I finished the hammer, the design is great. It works really well. There's no glue, which was another big thing. It was all going to be mechanically attached together. That it took me 3 months to make. And we were about 3 months from Comic-Con. I had just had a hammer. I knew that I would have to build, 3D print and design the bracers, the chest plate, the helmet.
You had everything else left.
I had to do everything else. And I was halfway through the helmet. I'm still not done with the helmet. That was the most complex build for me because it has to fit my head perfectly, and 3D printing a helmet is difficult in some ways because many of the materials you're working with aren't flexible. So it's not like foam where, if it's not 100% perfect, like the foam is malleable so you can actually get it on your head. If it's too big or too small, it will not go on my head and it won't look right. I nixed Lady Thor this year at the last second, and I thought, I had about a month. I decided to, let's take a costume I love wearing and I've only worn once and that I want to wear again, and let's do an update. Because when I first did that costume, the technology's changed. The 3D printing technology from San 1.0 to San version 2 is significant enough that I could completely redo a lot of the things that I made. I started off with the spear and the knife. The plastic's yellowed over time, so it doesn't look great anymore. It's also chipped because I made them too sharp. I wasn't paying attention to the fact that the material can get really sharp. So completely redesigned it, made it completely safe. And I kind of redesigned how the color got laid down for the certain colored bits of the spear, which had to be printed separately, but now could then be printed together because the technology's changed, so saving me time. And then the last, more significant change, I reprinted the ears to make them more apparent because they kind of get lost in all the hair on the mask. I wanted to do a different take on San for this round. Most of it will look the same, but there's a very distinct moment in the film when she goes from having her full mask to having half of it. And that to me sort of echoed her transition into starting to accept her humanness. Her humanity, I guess I should say. That's a better word for that. So yeah, she starts accepting her humanity sort of throughout the end of the film, and then that mask sort of, it kind of starts to disappear. So the half mask was sort of symbolic of that, and so I thought we would do a slightly different take in different moments in the movie. So I did the half mask as my redo. The redesign wasn't that difficult. All I did was just cut in my 3D file. I cut the shape out, and then that was it. It was easy. Did that in a few hours. It was great. I love when things only take a few hours rather than
that
days,
never
months,
happens.
and years to complete. So that was done. But another reason why I did the half mask, and it wasn't purely because of the film, that mask was really uncomfortable to wear. It's heavy. It seats pretty evenly on my head, but, you know, I got so sweaty in there because I'm pretty much just all enclosed and it's hot. I did make those adjustments and it was instantaneously better. You can actually see the paint on my face, which was really kind of a cool feature.
You wore the mask more
I wore the mask more the first time. Mostly because that was such a cool feature and people got really excited about it. But the second time around, it seemed like I looked cooler with the mask like up with all my makeup and my hair. And the earrings, you could actually see my earrings this time around, which was a big deal too. Not to pat myself on the back, but the way that I designed that costume, it's super wearable. It's really easy. The mask, I think, was the only fussy thing with that costume, and I solved that problem by going with the half mask design instead of the full, and that just pretty much eliminated any discomfort I was having in the costume.
Well, that's really nice about iteration in general. You know, one of the powers of 3D printing, right, is that it's iterative, and you have a file that you can change and reprint and make better with each try. So this is a perfect example of, you know, version 1 to version 2 of, you know, how that process just completely transformed your overall costume. And yeah, I think this time around it was even better than the first time.
Oh, and there was, not to cut you off, but there was one more change that was probably, actually I would say more significant.
Yeah, so this
in some ways.
Is this the tattoos?
Yeah, this is the tattoos. So the first rendition of this costume, you know, Sarah being, you know, having a lot of special effects makeup experience, thought, and I agreed, it was a really great idea to go with like prosthetics, full-on silicone prosthetics for the scar curse marks.
Yeah, so I created a couple molds. I think we did
like six to eight.
6 to 8.
Yeah.
6 to 8 silicone pieces that I attached to her the day of the con that I hand painted.
They looked awesome. They were so cool, and we got so many compliments on them. However, they took 4 hours to get me into day of, which we did not plan for. On top of that, the paint that we used on them wasn't setting, so single thing I touched had red stains on it. I didn't want to get red on anyone. So this year we did something different, and this was a brilliant idea and also has some negative effects anyway. But we decided to use tattoo paper, temporary tattoo paper. I designed the tattoos in Illustrator, printed them out, and did a couple tests to make sure they would stick to my skin properly. It turned out great. They're great.
Also, the learning curve for that.
Oh, it's so easy.
It's
really
easy.
It's really easy to use. The only thing I would say about the tattoo paper is that it's shiny on the skin, so you have to sort of think about matting it down. But honestly, it didn't really affect how I looked in the costume. It made sense because it is sort of a weird magical wound. So it made sense to have a little bit of shine. It made it kind of look fresh. I would say the downside to using the tattoo paper, and I had planned for this, I shaved my body.
Yes.
So that the tattoos would be removable because they're not if you have hair. They won't come off. And I scrubbed because we did a test a month before, you know, D-Day, and it wouldn't come off my body, remember?
Yeah.
So I bought like special temporary tattoo. It's like the those shiny gold tattoos that are kind of popular now. You can get like at Sephora. They make a special cleaner for those. So I got that cleaner. It works really well, but the swatch you get of like the cleaning towelette is maybe like that big. And I had tattoos across my whole body. It was a lot of soaking in the tub, scrubbing, breaking out into hives, soaking in the tub, scrubbing. They came off that night, but it was a little painful. So, you know, I have to figure out what to do about that.
I guess to wrap up, what would you say from a 3D modeling printing perspective? What was kind of the highlight for you this time around making these things? And then what was your biggest takeaway?
I guess the highlight would be getting an opportunity to actually make those edits that I felt were important for the costume to be better. I think, and maybe a lot of other cosplayers feel the same way, but I sort of always feel like once you've done the costume, you move on to the next thing. So actually, it was nice to have the opportunity to go back and to actually make it better. I feel like we always kind of, and we're artists, so this is kind of how we are, but we think that like the next thing has to be better than the first thing. You're increasing the bar, you're learning new things, you're raising it again. So, you know, it was sort of like, well, I've already, like, this costume was my first costume, so it's the worst one. That's what I was thinking in my head. It's the worst one, because I've done so many other cool things since that. So I went into this project, you know, with the mindset of like, this is the worst costume, let's make it better. But in reality, I honestly think this might have been the best costume that I've ever made. Because going through the process again of like figuring out what could be better, I started remembering what I did right the first time, and that's going to influence other costumes that I make that I may have forgotten the things I did right and made the same mistakes. So that's like good. My biggest takeaway was having the opportunity to go back.
I'm glad that you're getting more and more opportunities to wear it. I know you love being San.
I do love being San. I love talking to the fans because they love the same things I do. And we can just geek out about it. So it's good. Hopefully we'll be able to geek out with, you know, a lot of other fans at Anime NYC. And if you guys are going, you should let us know and we can meet up with you. If you're not going to be there though, and you're interested in what we're doing, you should definitely check us out at TheLaserGirlsStudio.com. We do a lot of 3D printing tutorials, and we also show you how to get started with 3D modeling or 3D scanning if you don't know what you're doing. And that was us at one point in time. So we definitely can share that with you.
All things 3D, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
All right. I guess it's time to say goodbye.
Yeah.
Until next time. Bye.
Go laser.